Welcome to Living the Way, hosted by Pastor Charlie and Dr. Melanie Jimmerson. Step back and join us as we take a closer look at how the Bible really can and does apply to our lives today. We really do value your feedback, so write a comment and don't forget to share so your friends will be blessed as well.
Well, before Christianity was called religion.
Right.
It was known as the way. They were people of the way.
Living the way.
Living the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way of believing. It's a way of following Jesus. And in the book of Acts, people weren't opposed to the idea.
No.
They were opposed and threatened by a life that looked different to them.
Yeah.
So welcome to Living the Way. We are honored to have you with us today. Now, today's topic.
Well, here we are.
Yes.
Yeah, there I am. Armed Forces Day.
Yes.
And we're proud to be able to bring a little program in honor of Armed Forces Day.
Armed Forces Day, which is today, May 16th. So
I want to give a little history.
Okay.
Okay, so Armed Forces Day. I mean, we're used to saying things like Memorial Day and 4th of July and like that, but Armed Forces Day was started in August of 1949. I'm going to read this for you because it's Lewis Johnson, who was the United States Secretary of Defense. Now, we do not have a Department of Defense anymore. We have a Department of War, and that's fine with me. Announced the creation of an Armed Forces Day to replace the separate Army Day, Navy Day, and Air Force Days. The event stemmed from the Armed Forces unification under one department, which used to be called the Department of Defense. The Army, Navy, and Air Force leagues adopted the new form day, but the Marine Corps,
Which was part of the Navy at one time.
which happened to be my favorite one, it declined to drop support for Marine Corps Day and supports, but it supports Armed Forces Day, but it has a separate Marine Corps Day. The first Armed Forces Day was celebrated on Saturday, May the 20th in 1950. So it took them a year to get it going. The theme for that day was Teamed for Defense. Now, I like that because, you know, we want to always think of all of our armed forces as melding together and working together.
Well, now, our armed forces are a little bit bigger today because now we also include the Coast Guard and Space Force.
And Space Force,
yes,
right.
That's all part of it.
Yeah. Y'all remember Space Force. Don't think it's there.
Yes.
We don't hear much about them, but
And it's important.
it is. So, according to the U.S. Department of Defense, the day was designed to expand public understanding of what type of job was performed and the role of the military in civilian life. So, Armed Forces Day was a day for the military to show state-of-the-art equipment to Americans. I would like to see them try to do that nowadays. I'm not sure we would get to see state-of-the-art.
They don't do it the way they used to. I mean, there used to be all kinds of, when I was young, there was parades.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was parades, there was different things that went on to honor this, and it's not done that much. In fact, I'm just kind of a little disappointed that it doesn't even show up on my calendar anymore.
But here's what I think. This is me. I think the churches ought to get involved.
Yes.
I think the churches ought to open up on whatever the designated day is with all kinds of patriotic stuff, and especially taking into consideration our wonderful veterans.
Yes.
Wonderful veterans.
Now, the Armed Forces Day is to celebrate those that are currently in service.
Well,
in fact, May, believe it or not, May is designated the Military Appreciation Month. May is.
Okay, all right,
So,
well, then let's be,
and we
let's be
have
appreciating.
Armed Forces Day, and then we'll have Memorial Day. Armed Forces Day is supposed to honor those that are in active duty right
currently,
now.
okay.
Memorial Day is for those that have died, whether it was in service or not. It's to honor all those that served that have passed away. Now, Veterans Day is not in May because of when it started.
Yeah.
And it was, and it's
November
November the 11th, because
11/11.
November 11th at 11 p.m., the war stopped. And so, and that was World War I.
Yeah.
And it's always been there. It's always been there since then. But Veterans Day is to honor those who are alive that have served. So
Right.
that's the three different veins.
But having more days to congratulate and to appreciate
Mm-hmm.
all of our military, that's not going to hurt anything.
No.
The more
Well,
the merrier.
In fact, I'm kind of sad that Armed Forces Day is not celebrated more. Most everybody, they may not celebrate Veterans Day. Now, everybody celebrates Memorial Day, not
yeah.
for the right day, or not for the right reasons.
always.
It's just because they got a day off,
a federal holiday.
it's a federal holiday,
Yeah.
But Veterans Day, they know of it, but I guarantee you, and why don't you try this? Ask 10 of your friends when Armed Forces Day is. And see how many of them know.
Everybody's laughing.
And in fact, find out how many of them even know there is an Armed Forces Day. There is probably very few of them will. Maybe if they'd been in the service, they will know. But even a lot of men and women in service, they don't know about Armed Forces Day. They know about Memorial Day and they know about Veterans Day, but a lot of them, because it's not celebrated like it used to.
And it's up to us.
Yes,
Those
it is.
of us who now know about it, who really have studied it a little bit now.
Right.
It's up to us to bring this to the forefront of, and like I said, I think this is a good place where the church, all the churches,
Yes.
could step it up and bring in Armed Forces Day, not because it's non-political. It's just armed forces.
These guys are putting their life on the line. I've often said that everybody that joins the military, they sign a blank check.
Oh, they do.
That blank check is their life.
Right.
They sign and say, "My life is yours."
Mm-hmm. They do.
And believe it or not, I was shocked, but it was President Truman that was president when it was
1950.
Yes.
Yes, it was. Yes, he was.
So he was there. A lot of people, in fact, I've heard a lot of people say that Truman was not one of the greatest presidents we ever had. I wasn't born till '56, so I don't know.
He's my president because he was president when I was, I don't know if he was president when I was born, but when I was growing up. I heard all kinds of stuff about Truman on the radio and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of like my president. I've always kind of liked him. He was feisty. I liked him because he was feisty.
But now we got a feisty president today. I believe that there is a Christian connection to this day.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, because, what are they doing? They're laying down their lives for their brothers, their
Greater
sisters.
love.
Isn't that what Christ did?
Yes.
Isn't that what Christians are supposed to do? That's what we're supposed to do. Men and women in armed forces willingly, and that's it. We don't have a draft anymore. They willingly place themselves in harm's way for the protection of others. That's what they do. And John 15:13 actually says there's no greater love than to lay down one's own life for one's friends. So, that's what the men and women of the military do, and we ought to honor them. So if you see somebody in uniform, especially, today, tell them thank you. Thank you for offering your life for me.
And a lot of people, pastor included here, have, maybe they're not in uniform anymore, but they have a hat with, you've got a hat with your
I've got a couple of them.
Navy on it.
A couple of Navy hats.
And I know that you've had people walk up to you and thank you for your service.
Yes, I have. And in fact, sometimes I'm shocked. I'm going like, oh, I wore that hat today. I just did, because I have 5 or 6 hats, and I'll walk by and I'll just pick one and put it on. I don't really pay attention to them all the time. Military service becomes a true picture of sacrificial love.
It does.
It comes from serving something bigger than yourself.
Right.
That's Christianity.
Yeah.
I'm serving something bigger than myself. Jesus is pretty big, okay?
Yes. Yeah, but the greater picture is what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also they're standing in the gap for others.
Now let's talk about standing in the gap.
Okay.
Because it's not a cliche. It's an actual offering. I want to say offering, and maybe
Right.
that's not the right word, but we can actually operate in standing in the gap, which is in Isaiah, for somebody else. Have you ever done that?
Right.
Where you know something like, let me just give you a little example, and I'm not any big hero in this, but last weekend, the singer at our church, the one who leads us in worship, had just had a terrible weekend with her heart and AFib and all kinds of stuff. And so when it came prayer time, now I usually play the piano all the way through prayer time, and I don't get involved in it too much other than to support the people who are
Right.
praying and stuff. But I just felt real led of the Lord to go and find a prayer partner at my church to stand in the gap for my friend.
Right.
And so when the prayer partner that was available, she asked me, she said, what can I pray for? And I said, I want to stand in the gap, blah, 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 blah. Told her who it was and everything. And boy, she prayed over me like I was a hero. But I wasn't the hero.
Right.
Jesus is the hero. Jesus is the healer. But it takes our being interested in bringing the name of somebody who is in need to the Lord,
Yes.
to ask him to do what he's perfectly willing to do all along. So,
I often tell people that Debbie was in the military because she was married to me when I was in the Navy. And she never went overseas. And she didn't spend a lot of time on the ships because she gets seasick really easy.
Oh,
I mean, I can remember a time we're docked between 2 ships. One ship is docked at the dock. You had to walk over that ship to get to my ship. And then my ship had another ship next to it, tied to us.
Yeah,
so the dock 3 ships.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle. Debbie is sitting in there in the little office. We called it our log room. And we're sitting in there and we're talking. And all of a sudden she goes, I got to leave. This ship's moving. I'm going like, Debbie, this ship can't move. We're in between 2 ships. I said, we're tied down. She said, I'm getting sick. I'm going like, so I get up and I look through our little porthole.
yeah.
And I look through that porthole, that other ship, because all I can see is the other ship. And I look at that ship. If we were moving a ½ inch, we were moving a lot. But Debbie, she had to leave. Now, I will give her some slack because she was pregnant at the time.
Okay, well, we all would.
Yeah, so that may have had something to do with it too. But she had to leave. She couldn't stay there with me that day. But the Christian connection is Jesus modeled servant leadership.
Servant leadership.
Christians are called often to put others before ourselves. And I've got a scripture, Philippians 2, verses 3 and 4. It says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interest, but take an interest in others too. You know,
Absolutely.
I really like
Take
the
an
New
interest
Living
in
Translation.
Right.
You know, in this one.
Yeah,
It
that worked good on that.
It does. They did good on that one. But we have to be humble, guys. We do need to think. You know, that's one thing, and maybe it's just the pastor in me. But one thing that frustrates me more than anything is the fact when somebody doesn't think about somebody else and how they're feeling and all that.
Okay.
It's all them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like scratching a chalkboard to me.
Okay.
You know, and I have to be careful. You know, because
You want to say something?
yeah,
I know you do.
and I need to
You have to be
need
careful.
to say it right, and then say it in the right time and in the right place, and that's not always when it happens.
Right.
You know, so you know, and I know a lot of people have told me, "Well, you're just speaking the truth," and I'm going like, the Bible does not tell us to speak the truth. The Bible tells us to speak the truth in love. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to do it right. But you know, here, you know, back with the armed forces, you know, they do that their whole life, the whole time they're in there.
A lot of people consider themselves to still be of service for the rest of their life,
Yeah.
because in case their nation needed them, they would go and try to enroll, or,
Right.
you know, at the recruiting station.
I've made it to the point to where they wouldn't take me.
Okay.
I'm past the age. They would not take me back.
Well, there's a good reason to be as old as you are.
Yeah. But you know what? I would, if I would have been this age in World War II, I'd have been doing scrap metal drives. I'd been doing all kinds of
Sure you
different
would.
things. You know, because guys, the United States of America is not perfect. But let me tell you,
It's the best.
compared to every other
Other
country on this earth, there's none better.
Right.
We do more for other countries, for other people, than any other country. We are, you know, in fact, I believe we were one of the first countries that actually outlawed slavery.
Were we?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm glad to know that.
You know,
I'm
so,
glad to know
you know, it's, you know, we're put down a lot because of our slavery.
Slavery, yeah.
You know, but, you know, we have a system when we're wrong, it normally gets corrected. It may take it some time because we're not perfect.
But it's because we have wonderful Congress.
Yes, and we have
We elect.
a constitution.
Yes.
You know, guys, we're not a democracy. I keep saying
Please
this all the
don't
time.
say
We
we
are
are.
not
We are
a
not.
democracy. A democracy is 51% rule. Whether it's right or wrong, 51% rule. That's not what we are. We are a constitutional republic. That means 51% of the people rule, as long as it don't go against our Constitution. If it goes against our Constitution, that 51% is wrong, okay? A lot of people don't like that. But read the Constitution. Let me tell you, those guys, I am positive 100% in my own thinking that God was there writing that Constitution when they did it. In fact, you know, one of the signers of the Constitution and creators of all of it,
you know
that
who
was
they all
thought to be the least religious,
Okay.
of faith, and that was Benjamin Franklin.
Right.
Benjamin Franklin, when they started doing the Constitution and all, he made a motion, and his motion is that they needed to stop, and they needed to pray for 3 days, and then come back and pray before they ever started again.
Right.
Benjamin Franklin.
And the
Now
Lord
you
put it
tell me that our country was not founded on Christian principles.
It is.
You need to get into it.
So I have a little story.
Okay.
And it kind of goes along with this, not so much with the Armed Forces Day, but for one of the things that we've talked about tonight or today. So I was married to a man who was dragged off to Vietnam.
Okay. He was drafted.
He was drafted. He was drafted into the Army, and he asked the Army to let him go over to the Marine Corps because he said because in the Marine Corps you didn't have to serve as long as you did the Army.
Right.
So that was back then. That was I don't know if it's still true now, but anyway, so he went that way. He went willingly.
Right.
And he went through the boot camp and all that, and eventually was sent overseas. And he said he went overseas after having been in the Marines for a year and a half, and so he thought the war was pretty calmed down by now. No, he went over there in 1968.
Oh.
And if you know anything about the Vietnam War, that was Cantien.
Yeah.
So he said he gets there, he goes, they call it in country, okay?
Right.
He gets off the airplane, and everybody is running. He said, "What's everybody running for?" He said, "Is it chow time? What is it?" You know, and everybody's running off the tarmac and scooting down in this area, this ditch, because they knew from the sound that was going on that wasn't airplanes, that was incoming.
Incoming.
So he gets there, and he says, just to wrap it up, he says, I went over there thinking I was a machine gunner, okay? I got there and found out I was target.
Yeah, target, yeah.
So he...
Well, I have, similar, they told me to join the Navy to see the world. They forgot to tell me 3/4 of the world was water. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I saw my share of water, but I did see my share of the world, too.
Oh, that's good, too.
And I am grateful for the military, what it taught me while I was there.
So let's talk about some possible themes, just in case anybody wants to know. So first of all, appreciation of the nation. We've talked about that already, that we are a constitutional republic. Dedication and devotion of all who serve.
That's right.
Like you said, you have to sign away your life.
That's right.
Freedom through unity. Now let's talk about that for a minute, because when in war, we can't have the military fighting this war and that war and that war and that war. It's all one war.
Yes. And you know what? There's no Democrat, Republican in the service.
No, there's not.
There's not.
There
now,
isn't.
there is voting, and everybody can vote their conscience. But let me tell you, there's no divide. I mean, those people. In fact, while I was overseas, we was off the shore of Lebanon.
Oh.
Lebanon was actually firing at us.
Oh, no.
Now, we were outside of their range. I'm glad the Navy knew what that was, because we weren't firing back. We were just sitting out there.
Well, we
And
probably hadn't received orders.
But then, all of a sudden, someone come down in the fire room where I was in and handed me, because I was the top watch, handed me a .45 with 2 clips.
Oh.
And I'm going like, okay, and he says, sign here. And I says, okay, and I signed for it. And he says, when your relief comes in, you got to make them sign. You hand it to them and tell them to do the same thing. I'm going like, okay. And then, he got ready to leave, and I'm going like, do you really think that if someone could get to this ship, that they would come down here in this hot fire room where you can't hardly live? In fact, they said it was impossible to live down there when we went through sea trials.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he says, oh, that's not for the enemy.
Oh, no.
And I'm going like, now, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm not the dullest either. I'm going like, wait a minute, there's only 2 here. It's enemy and friend. Are you telling me? He says, if we go to general quarters and someone gets ready to go up that ladder, you have orders to shoot them.
Oh, my goodness.
And I looked at him and I says, well, thank you for those orders, but I'll tell you right now, you will be court-martialing me, because every last one of these brothers in here are my brothers.
Right.
And I'm not about to shoot one of them.
Yeah.
And now that's the way I felt. But that was it, because it was duty. So we're about out of time.
Yeah, but I want to say that one more time.
Okay.
You know, the Armed Forces Day is a special opportunity to say thanks.
Yep, sure is.
And I think we need to all be thankful, and especially thankful to the Lord.
Yes. Amen. So thanks for joining us today.
Amen.
You know, the way is not a path that you visit.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No, come to think of it, no.
It's a life you walk. Okay, so may we not be known only for just what we believe, but for how we faithfully follow Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And Melanie,
Yes.
where can we learn to live the way?
Go to church a lot.
Go to church a lot.
See what happens there. It's very, very interesting.
Yes, it is. So until next time, keep living the way. Good night.
Thank you for watching, and remember, be in church tomorrow. If you don't have a home church, you really need to find one. The church needs you, and you really need the church.